Hey guys, welcome back to our second edition of the Credit Card Awards. You guys really seemed to like last year's version, so we thought, why not bring it back? As this video is also near the end of the year, before we start the video, we just want to thank everybody for their support throughout the entire year. If you've been subscribed for quite a while or just subscribed recently, we do appreciate all the support. Now when we talk about the Credit Card Awards, we know that this really isn't one best credit card. We realize there's a ton of nuance to it, and heavily inspired by MKBHD's Smartphone Awards, we decided that we're going to give an award to one credit card in one category, then have a few runners up depending on how strong that category really ends up being. Let's kick things off with our pick for the best Visa card. This year, the top honor goes to the cheaty Aeroplan Visa Infinite. Now it's no surprise this card earned the top spot, especially considering its standout performance last year where it also won the award. Now as Aeroplan is Canada's largest and most accessible travel rewards program, having an Aeroplan co-branded card is a must-have in any savvy traveler's wallet. What truly sets this card apart from other things in the category are its really impressive welcome bonus and its exclusive set of perks within the Aeroplan program. Currently, it offers a 50,000 point sign-up bonus, provided you're approved by January 6, 2025. That's enough for a round-trip business class ticket between Toronto and Vancouver, even in Air Canada's signature class, or a trip to Europe in economy class. Even if you're an occasional traveler, the perks really make this card worthwhile, and the most notable benefit for sure is the first free checked bag for yourself and up to 8 other travel companions that are on the same reservation. Additionally, you also get preferred pricing on Air Canada flights, which can significantly reduce the number of points needed for redemptions by 10 to 15%. We also want to hand out a runners-up for this category, being the CIBC Dividend Visa Infinite. Now we want to make sure that we're putting a couple of cashback cards in here, just for the people that don't really care too much about travel perks. This card comes with 10% cashback as a welcome offer for the first 4 statements on your card up to a maximum cap. This is an excellent card for people who are trying to earn a bunch of cash back, as you can get 4% cash back on gas, EV charging and groceries, 2% on transportation, dining and recurring payments, as well as 1% everywhere else. You also get your first annual fee rebated, which helps save a little bit of money once again. We're not going to go too in depth with this credit card, as we have a full cashback cards review coming out later next year, but it's a great card overall to have in your wallet if you want a solid Visa cashback card for all your everyday spend. Jumping across the aisle to the Mastercard network, we often don't highlight the National Bank World League Mastercard too much, but it's a super strong competitor for 2 standout reasons. First is its $150 travel credit. Unlike many other cards where you can use the travel credit for flights directly, unfortunately in this case you can't, but by that it becomes a little bit more versatile. You can use it for various travel related expenses such as baggage fees, seat selection, airport lounge access, and more. I think over the course of a year, everyone spends about $150 on these ancillary purchases anyways, so it's nice to just have this rebated directly through the card. Now there is a $150 annual fee with the card, but as you notice, that $150 travel credit just nets that out, so you get a free card every single year. Additionally, the second main benefit for this card is travel insurance on award flights, which is super rare and incredibly valuable to have. It doesn't matter what points program you use, as long as you pay the taxes and fees with this credit card, you're going to get your travel insurance to make sure you're covered in all of your travels. The points program here is also pretty bog standard. It's called a la carte rewards, and you can redeem your points at 1 cent per point against any travel purchase with virtually any airline, making a lot of flexibility into your travel plan. Next up, we have the best Amex card, and I'm pretty sure you already know what I'm going to say here. It's the almighty Amex Cobalt, the one credit card in Canada that just keeps on giving. Even after Amex slashed the 2x earn it on travel back in October, this card was so overpowered that it really didn't matter. If you're one of the few people who's been living under a rock, let me tell you a little bit more about the Amex Cobalt. It comes with a 15,000 point welcome bonus. Now that might not sound like a lot, but the real perks truly come with the multipliers here. You get 5 points per dollar spent on food delivery, dining and groceries, 3 points on subscriptions, 2 points on gas, transit and rideshare, as well as 1 MR point spent everywhere else. If you're looking to get a card just to put all your purchases on, this is most certainly the one, as no other card in Canada comes anywhere near close. Now you might be thinking, I've definitely seen a few other cards in Canada that have these super high earn rates just like Cobalt. And that is true, but none of them really have the value with the points that the Cobalt does. American Express allows you to transfer your points over to a bunch of airline and hotel partners, the 2 biggest ones being Air Canada Aeroplan, as well as British Airways Avios. The points you earn from this card really open up travel to pretty much anywhere in the world, as these 2 programs span far and wide. No non-Amex card has access to both of these programs, which is why this card stands so much above the rest in the entire Canadian credit card landscape. Admittedly, travel insurance on this card is pretty mid. It's definitely towards the lower end of all the travel cards in the market, but that being said, it's still nice to have. There's also a couple of other perks you get from being an American Express card member, for example, frontline access for a couple of concerts and Amex offers, which are effectively just coupons to some of your favorite stores. You'll just get back maybe $10 or $15 each. There is a $155 annual fee, but for the number of points you're earning, I'd say if you're spending over $500 or $600 a month, is definitely a card you may want to consider picking up. We felt this category was quite strong, and therefore it made sense to give you runners up here, and we gave it to the American Express Aeroplan Core Tier card. As of filming this video, they did reduce the welcome bonus down from 50,000 to 40,000 points, which is definitely a bummer, but this is not really one of those cards where you earn the bonus and then just drop it. It's definitely a keeper long term. This card is similar to the TD Aeroplan Visa Infinite, but just with an American Express wrapper. There's a couple of perks you get when you go with the American Express version. For example, you get Amex offers that we just talked about, and frontline benefits, again another thing we just talked about. The rest of the perks are pretty much the exact same, and although there isn't a big difference in the annual fee, it is $120 versus $139 for the TD and CIBC variants of this card, which is a nice $19 benefit. The last thing with this card is there's no minimum income requirement. So with the TD and CIBC variant, you need $60,000 of personal income or $100,000 of household income to make it work. But Amex has no requirement for all of their cards, which makes it a pretty good pickup. For example, if you're a student and you're traveling quite a bit for school, transiting back and forth. BMO is not the first bank that comes to your head when you talk about really good credit cards, but the BMO Cashback World Elite Mastercard, in our opinion, ends up being the best cashback card in Canada. As with most cashback cards, you get 10% cashback for the first 3 months of card membership, and after that your earn rates drop to 5% on groceries, 4% on transit, 3% on gas and EV charging, 2% on recurring bill payments, and 1% everywhere else. Of course, there's caps on all of these categories, and we also would have liked to see that 5% extend to dining and food delivery as well. But other than that, it promises a really solid package as it hits most of the major spending categories people would like to see in Canada. Now, who would have thought BMO would make 2 appearances back to back, but so they have. The BMO Student Cashback Mastercard is the best student card in Canada, in our opinion. Now, normally I would have given this award to the Amex Cobalt, but talking to a lot of our friends, sometimes they don't even spend enough to really make an Amex Cobalt worth it. So for some people, as a student, it does make a lot of sense to pick up a card with an annual fee, but otherwise, I think the BMO Student Cashback Mastercard is definitely the best pick. As your welcome offer, you get 5% cashback on all your purchases, and then your earn rates move down to 3% on grocery, 1% on recurring bill payments and subscriptions, and 0.5% back everywhere else. Now, on the surface level, this doesn't sound like a whole lot better than the other cards we mentioned, but this is a card that has no annual fee, of course. As runners up here, we want to give it to the CIBC Aeroplan Visa Platinum, as I think it's a great student credit card to get if you want to dip your toes into miles and points. You get 10,000 points as a welcome bonus, which is just enough for a one-way flight between Toronto and Vancouver in economy. The earn rates on this card are exactly as you'd expect for a no annual fee credit card. You get 0.5 Aeroplan points for every dollar you spend, which isn't great, but again, for a no annual fee card, you really can't complain. This is also the only way you can get preferred pricing on Air Canada for free, which is that 10 or 15% discount you get when you book with Aeroplan points. Just doing the math here, both myself and Ion use it more than we can mention, and it saved us tens of thousands of points. The biggest flop is never a award we really want to give, but it's something we do have to at the end of every single year. Although a lot of people might see it as us just bashing a card because we can, we're really doing it so they have a chance to improve. And this year, we have to give it to the BMO Air Miles World Elite Mastercard. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure where to start with this card. Air Miles, about a year ago, were about to go under before BMO came along and just took them over. I think their plans were to use the Air Miles brand to create their own loyalty program, but the value you get out of this program is quite dismal. You earn 3 miles for every $12 you spend on this card, and although there are a couple of multipliers like 5x on travel, 2x on grocery, alcohol, wholesale clubs, and a couple of other categories, the earn rate itself is pretty bad, and the way to redeem it is somehow even worse. The standard redemption rate on this card is 95 miles for $10, which is pretty terrible value. This means if you spend about $1,000 a month, which is $12,000 a year, you net out with about $100 in cashback value, which is pretty terrible compared to some of the other cards we have on the list. Now, with the HSBC World Elite Mastercard out of the running, as its cardholders have been looped into the RBC Avion Visa Infinite card, the race for the best 4xP card in Canada is wide open. While we're still lacking on cards in this segment here in Canada, as nearly every credit card worth its salt in the US comes with no annual fee attached, there are a few cards here that stand above the rest. Doing it a bit differently, let's start with our runners up here, the Scotiabank Gold American Express, which has super strong earn rates on grocery, dining and food delivery, as well as entertainment and transit. It has a pretty strong insurance suite, which means you can book travels without too many worries, and being an American Express card, technically, it also comes with Amex offers that can save you some money here and there. The $120 annual fee is also waived for the first year, allowing you to try out the card and see if it really makes sense to hold as a no annual fee card. To break even on the annual fee after the first year, you also just need to spend $4,800 in foreign currency every year to take advantage of that lack of 2.5% exchange fee. Now, the only reason this card misses out on top honors is because even though it's issued by Scotiabank, it runs on the American Express network, which can definitely be both a blessing and a curse. While it can lead to higher earn rates as we've seen, Being an Amex also means there's limited acceptance compared to some Visa and Mastercard's offerings across the globe, which would be a massive pain, especially when you're traveling, and especially as a no foreign exchange fee card. That's why we've crowned its cousin, the Scotiabank Passport Visa Infinite, as the best no forex fee card in Canada. It comes with a slightly higher $150 annual fee and slightly worse earn rates, as it earns 3x at Sobeys, Safeway, IGA, Foodland, and participating co-ops. You get 2 points for every dollar spent on eligible entertainment purchases like movies, theaters, and ticket agencies, as well as 2 points for every dollar spent on daily transit like rideshare, buses, taxis, the subway, and some more. You also have that standard 1 point per dollar spent everywhere else. It does make up for a couple of its shortcomings, with 6 passes to lounges within the Visa Airport Companion program, and of course the fact that it's a Visa means that it's accepted virtually everywhere across the globe, so you can really save that 2.5% anywhere you go. Something you need to consider though is the fact that with that higher $150 annual fee, you now need to spend over $6,000 in foreign currency to break even on that annual fee. This is not unreasonable at all, it's just food for thought. We can make an entire video on what the best no annual fee card is, as there are so many competitive cards that also carry no annual fee here in Canada. These cards are great choices for a ton of people who do not want to pay an annual fee every single year, but still want a very, very strong card. We thought it was wise to break this up into a cashback card and a rewards card just because there's so many good options. For a cashback card, our pick goes to the Candrine Money Back credit card that earns 2% back on 2 categories of your choice and 0.5% everywhere else. It's definitely a bit lean on perks, as you'd probably expect, but it has a minimum income requirement of $12,000, which are 2 things that aren't really enough to knock it off its top spot. You can also get the World Mastercard variant, which comes with more perks, but does come with that $50,000 minimum income requirement or $80,000 of household income. Simply Financial takes runners up here, with its super strong earn rates on dining, earning you 4% back on all your transactions there, while also getting 1.5% back on grocery, gas, and drugstore purchases, and 0.5% back everywhere else. At the end of the day, having 2 categories where you can earn 2% is marginally better, as they can be those 2 categories where you spend the chunk of your money. Like for example, groceries and gas earning 2% for most people should outdo earning 4% back on dining and 1.5% back on gas and groceries. That being said, this card is still a very, very strong option. For our favorite no annual fee rewards card, the Amex Green really comes to mind here. This card is of course pretty no frills, comes with a 10,000 point welcome bonus when you spend $1,000 on the card within the first 3 months, which is worth about $200. Its earn rate's fairly weak, I guess. It earns 1 MR point per dollar spent everywhere, which is about 2% back everywhere if you do redeem for travel, but is overall just a pretty solid starter card. If you do tend to shop at a lot of places that don't take Amex, the CIBC Aeroplan Visa Platinum is an excellent option, as it comes with a 10,000 point welcome bonus on your first purchase worth about $200. Now you'd be thinking, this is a pretty easy one. The best credit card to use at Costco is definitely their own Mastercard, but perhaps that's not really the case. Now the Costco Mastercard is strong, no doubt. It earns 3% back at restaurants and at Costco Gas, 2% back at other gas stations and on Costco.ca, as well as 1% back at the physical Costco location and 1% back everywhere else. Definitely nothing to turn your nose up at, but is there a better option? Well actually, we think there is. We think the best card here at Costco is actually the Rogers Red Mastercard. If you aren't a Rogers member already, it earns 1.5% back across the board, which is a strong base earn rate for a cashback card, but if you do end up being a Rogers customer, you can bump this up to 2% back across the entire board, which is pretty incredible, very similar to the Citi Double Cash cards from below the border. You also get 3% back on purchases made in US dollars, meaning you still net that 0.5% back on these transactions once you account for that 2.5% foreign exchange fee. There's some other Rogers perks too, like 1.5 times more cash back when you redeem your things for Rogers, FIDO, or Shaw purchases, and 5 Roam Like Home days each year, worth up to $75. For a no annual fee card, that's pretty solid. And the only reason it didn't win is due to the fact that you need to have $80,000 of personal income or $150,000 of household income to be approved for the card, and you need to spend $15,000 every year on the card to not get it downgraded to the lower tier version of this card. Admittedly, another pretty dry year for Canadian credit card releases due to the macroeconomic climate not really supporting as much discretionary spending, and as a result, not as much innovation in the market. That being said, one card did really stand out here. It's hard to say this is the best credit card as a whole, but I do really like the thought process behind the card, and I'm excited to see what comes of it overall. I'm of course talking about the Neo Financial World Mastercard, which is Neo's first foray into the premium Mastercard segment, not with a co-branding partner. It comes with strong earn rates and a decent set of perks, but what really stands out to me is the model they've used to calculate the earn rates you'd be getting on the card. The more money you keep in a checking account with them, the higher your earn rates are across the board. I'm not super certain I love the model, at least the way it's currently advertised, but I do applaud the innovation here. They've almost created an ecosystem effect with your banking, And as I mentioned in the full review of this card a couple of months earlier, I wouldn't be too surprised if this is something a lot of other financial institutions end up doing over the coming months and years. A thing to mention here though is I would like this to be in an additive sense, not a subtractive sense. What I mean by that is I don't want banks to take their current earn rates and benefits and slash them if you don't have other products with them. Instead, I prefer if they add to them. For example, let's take a look at the RBC Avion card lineup. Compared to other cards in the category, it has a pretty dismal earn rate of 1 point per dollar spent. Now what if RBC cranks it up to 1.25 points or 1.5 points per dollar spent if you, for example, have a checking account with them or a certain amount in RBC direct investing? That would make people want to consolidate their banking in one place and lead to more revenue for RBC themselves, being a win-win. Of course, as always, I'd like to mention that I'm not a banking executive. I'm sure there's a lot of people hard at work figuring out if it's worth giving more perks and benefits to consumers, but I think it's a good thought exercise nonetheless. Now this was probably the hardest category to pick for, just because there's so many strong credit cards here and you really have to see if it makes sense to choose a card with a higher annual fee if it does come with more perks or a higher bonus. Since we couldn't choose the Amex Cobalt here, as not a real travel card with its limited perks and lacking insurance, we end up deciding on another American Express card, the flagship of the lineup, the Amex Platinum. Now this card does come with a colossal annual fee of $800. There's a handful of credits that do make this a little bit more manageable. The $200 dining credit and travel credits lower the effective annual fee down to $400 per year, which is still significant, but not insane. The earn rates aren't too much to write home about here, with the card earning 2 points per dollar spent on travel and dining, as well as 1 point everywhere else. So what really makes this card so good that won our prestigious Best Travel Card of the Year award? It's the perks. They're super strong. The main benefit, of course, is access to American Express's global lounge collection, which gives you access to thousands of airport lounges across the globe, regardless of your cost of travel. I'd wager this perk alone is worth that $400 annual fee if you travel quite frequently, as 16 uses over the course of a year, valuing each visit at about $25, which is fairly equivalent to an airport meal, would make up the annual fee alone. In addition, the travel insurance is airtight, having one of the best packages in all of Canada, and having personally used it a few times in the past, it certainly allows for a bit more peace of mind when things do go wrong. Moving into fixed travel rewards, there's 3 cards that do end up taking the combined crown here, all slight variations of one another. The TD Aeroplan Visa Infinite, CIBC Aeroplan Visa Infinite, and American Express Aeroplan Core are our best fixed travel cards of 2024, as they come with similar earn rates and benefits, as well as similar perks. You get 1.5 points per dollar spent on grocery, gas, and Air Canada purchases, and 1 point everywhere else, which is about 3% and 2% back respectively, which are pretty solid earn rates. The perks are why these cards run away with that title for best travel card, is just for $120 or $139 a year, you get that free check bag for yourself and 8 other travel companions. This alone can save you $70 per round trip per person, so 2 round trips alone would make up the entire annual fee right away. There's also preferred pricing, which I'm not going to bore you with once again, but the main benefit for this card, which you haven't really mentioned in the past, is if you use this card to pay the taxes and fees on airplane bookings, you get travel insurance, which is a feature that can definitely save you in a pinch. I think that's honestly why we talk about these credit cards so much on the channel, as we think they're some of the best cards in Canada, and definitely great keeper cards to keep in your wallet year after year. Now before we dive into our best credit card of the year, here are a couple of things we're looking forward to for 2025. Our prediction for last year that a new Porter Crow branded card would come out has yet to come to fruition, but that's not going to stop us in talking about what we're most excited to see in the coming year. We're looking forward to the general release of the Wealthsimple Visa Infinite card. It's the neobank's first foray into the credit card market in Canada, after their wildly popular and revolutionary debit card that earned rewards. Something with decent earn rates, no forex fees, some lounge access, and finally made of metal would make this card pretty much S tier, as long as they price it around that $120 or $149 clip. Saving our best for last, our pick for the best credit card in Canada for 2024 is, drumroll please, once again, the Amex Cobalt. Trust me, I really want to give this to any other card, but it would be so disingenuous for me to take it away from the Cobalt, as it's certainly the best credit card in Canada. I know you guys have heard this 1,000 times, but that 5x earn rate on dining, food delivery, and grocery is just stellar, and the rest of the earn rates round out a pretty strong package, even with the recent changes where travel now only earns 1 MR point per dollar spent. For $155 a year, you really can't go wrong, and I'm hoping Amex keeps this card around for quite a while without truly nerfing that high earn rate. That being said, I think there's a lot of potential in the Amex Gold to make a run for this top spot if Amex decides that they want to make some changes and make it more competitive within the Canadian credit card landscape, as I think it could become the perfect hybrid between the Cobalt and the Platinum. And on that bombshell that I'm sure none of you expected, we're going to wrap up this year's credit card awards. Thank you so much for tuning in over the course of the entire year. This would not be possible without any of you guys' support, and we're really looking forward to 2025, where I have a ton of super cool stuff planned. If you did enjoy, be sure to give the video a like. And if you want more content like this delivered straight to your sub box, you know what to do. We hope you've had some happy holidays thus far and have a really solid start to the new year. We'll see you soon. Take care.